In this example, we're going to look at two pretty tough one-step equations that we're going to solve. The first example you see on the screen. I'm telling you I want you to solve the equation negative 5m equals 15. The reason why this one gives a lot of kids trouble is because they see this negative 5 and they automatically want to add 5 to both sides. And I understand why you would think that. But you need to think back to the fundamentals of solving equations. When we first started talking about it, we talked about how to undo the things that are bothering our variable, we have to use the inverse operations. In this particular case, the negative 5 and the m sitting right next to each other means that they are being multiplied. The inverse of multiplication is division. So I'm going to put my line down the center of this one to remind myself that anything I do to one side, I have to do to both sides. And since we just talked about the inverse of multiplication is division, to get this variable all alone, I would need to divide both sides by a negative 5. If I divide by just a positive 5, I'm going to leave a negative over there by my variable, and I'm not trying to figure out what negative m is. I want to know what m is. So when we're dividing, we need to divide by the entire thing that I'm seeing. Okay, so over here, negative 5 divided by negative 5 is going to equal 1, which is exactly what we want because that is going to give us 1m on the left side. Exactly what we want to see when we're solving. So over here, we've left it so that it's just m. On the right side, I know that 15 divided by 5 is 3, but you just have to remember that a positive divided by a negative is going to give us a negative answer. So my answer is going to be negative 3. Make sure that you are, especially on the test, circling your answer, and I would suggest checking your answer as well. Meaning, if I take this negative 3 and I put it back into my equation, does negative 5 times negative 3 give me 15? Yep, it does, because a negative times a negative gives me a positive. So I know that negative 3 has to be my answer. So that's one tricky example. Let's look at the next one. I'm asking you to solve f divided by negative 7 equals negative 14. When I ask students to solve this, a lot of them look at it and tell me 2. And I understand why they're thinking that, because negative 14 divided by negative 7 is 2, you're right, but that's not what I'm asking you to do. Remember, we're solving equations, so we're always trying to get that variable all alone. I'm going to cover up the right side of this equation because I think that might help us. What's actually happening between the f and the negative 7 is they're being divided. So to solve, we need to use the inverse operation and multiply by negative 7 on both sides. So when I do that, I'm going to multiply over here, and I have to multiply over on the right side. Okay, so let's see. A negative 7 times something that's being divided by negative 7, those are going to cancel. Exactly what we want. I know over here that a negative times a negative is going to give me a positive. And if you need to, you can use a calculator, but I know that 10 times 7 would give me 70, 4 times 7 would give me 28, so 70 plus 28 would give me 98. So as weird as this looks, I know that you really want to answer positive 2 because I see what you're saying. But keep in mind, math teachers create problems like this to kind of trick you, to make sure that you really understand what you're talking about. So don't fall into their traps. Make sure you're really thinking about what's happening and what do I need to do to undo that. It's being divided. The inverse would be multiplying.